All right, working away here on the Circle Track project. This is that left-hander chassis we've been working on as a limited late model. Done a ton of suspension work, brake work, and our goal over the weekend, which would have been last weekend, was to get the engine all assembled, and I was able to do that. So overcame some battles, got it all cleaned up, painted up, installed. Had a bunch of little things fight us, push rod length and rocker arms, but I've got that all sorted out, did get it finished up, got it in the car. What's today? Today is Thursday, so I got it in the car on Tuesday, and then I've been working on all the mounts since, and I'll show you guys some of that. So this mount I've just got tack welded on the top and on the other side. But you can see it used to be back over here. And it wouldn't work out for the engine position. So this car was originally a small block Chevy. They converted it to a small block Ford, and obviously those mounts wouldn't work for us. But we've got the engine exactly where it needs to go. The transmission is just installed for mock-up. I did install the drive shaft, and it is an inch too long. Basically, it would fit, but it was completely bottomed out into the transmission. And you want about 1 inch of clearance between the end of your drive shaft yoke and the transmission, otherwise it's going to bottom out, shove against the crank, wipe out your thrust bearing. So we dropped that off today to have the drive shaft shortened. We should have that back actually either tomorrow or Monday, so we'll see how that works out. I got new rear main seal in the engine once I got it installed here. It's a one-piece crank, or one-piece rear main crankshaft. Let me grab my light, I'll show you guys. So it's the newer style block, so you can't really install the rear main seal when it's on the stand. So I just went ahead and installed it with it in the car. I also got the pilot bushing changed. The old one is right here. This is how I like to remove them. It's the simplest, is I just cut them. So I just took the Sawzall with actually a wood blade on it, and so it's the thinner blade, but it's a wood blade. That way when you cut through, it doesn't tear up the cast iron crankshaft. It really won't cut that. Now, it will leave some marks in it if you're not careful, but I was able to cut through it, not cause any problem. Once you cut through it, you can just fold it in on itself and it'll come right out. So there's several tricks to that. People pound grease in there and yada yada, but it's always been the easiest for me to just cut it and knock it out from there. But yeah, this thing's definitely fought us a little bit. It took a lot to come up with this engine placement, and the reason why is you're working on a lot of different things at once. One being our driveline angles. So we want this transmission running downhill towards the back at about 3 degrees. So I had to make sure we get that. Our number one spark plug. So right here, so our number one spark plug hole cannot be any further than 4 inches back from the center of the ball joint. We've got it set at 3 inches because that's where everything kind of balanced out. And then crank height, I was shooting for around 11 inches from the center of my crank to the ground, and I had to settle with 11.5 because of clearance for my oil filter. I've got perfect clearance, but I've got the minimum amount, just with vibration, a little bit of movement. I wanted to leave plenty of clearance. And I could go to a shorter oil filter and that would help, but I like running the larger oil filters. So just a lot going on there. And then starter clearance, let me grab the light, on this side was a bit of an issue, but where we have it right now worked out perfect. We've got just enough clearance there as well for the starter. So we've got it landed in there. This is where it's gonna live, but it did take quite a bit. Now right now I'm working on changing the mid plate mounts. So this will weld right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'll have a little bit of a washer here. So that puts this a little bit lower than what I want it. That way if I want to add more driveline angle, I just take the washer out. If I want to subtract, I just put more washers. Basically, it gives me a little bit of tuning on our driveline angles. So getting that knocked out. It's been a bunch of other little things that I've been working on here, but the long story short is the engine is in, the engine is where it's gonna stay. We're just finishing up all the mounts. Then I'll pull the transmission back out. I'll put the clutch in, the flywheel on, and then the transmission can go back in, and that'll be all set. The next thing after that is gonna be shifter while I'm waiting on the drive shaft. I've got several old school shifters, and I laugh because these things look pretty ridiculous, but this has got the mechanism I want, and I can just make a plate to mount to here and here, and then this has got a factory type mechanism in it. I'll clean it up and oil it, but I like that this is just a factory gated shifter, operates just like any traditional H pattern. This is an aftermarket version of something like that. I don't really care for it. This one's actually the original 68 Camaro 3-speed 327. I'm gonna try not to modify it much, just make brackets for it because it is kind of a unique shifter, but it does look like I'll be able to use that. The reason why, and I'll show you guys another type. This is the other type that everyone uses, and it's just 2 levers or 3 if you have a 4-speed, and you have either 2 or 3 linkage rods. So first gear will say, let me see if I can get this set in the vise. First gear, you just say pull it back. All right, there's first, there's neutral, reverse would be up here, and then this is 2, 3 over here, forward, back. But to operate this lever, you got to pull this one back into neutral. So say you're going to go first to second, this would be your first gear. You got to go forward to neutral, then grab this one, and then go forward to second. So you're always having to move 2 levers to go first to second, or if you're going, say, second to first or second to reverse, you've got to make sure, all right, both of these back are in the center, and then you can pick your next gear. It's just annoying, and it takes extra time, and there's no quick shifts made with that. You could do second to third, but that's it. With a traditional H pattern, it operates like a traditional H pattern. So you can grab first, bang it into third, or I'm sorry, go first, bang it into second, into third, go third to second to first. Upshifting and downshifting is really smooth and really quick. Now, you don't do much of any upshifting and downshifting in these cars traditionally, but the few times that you have to do that quickly, these other style shifters suck. I can't stand them. And again, it's not very often that you would ever be making a quick shift in one of these cars. But if you ever have to with one of these, just throw it in the trash. They're garbage. Like, I just don't like them. That's the simple answer there. And I'm going to try to use something like that. That was one thing I could never stand about this car. See if it's still in here. Yeah, so this was set up with a 4-speed. So you got 3 levers, and you got to make sure all 3 are in neutral to make any gear changes. And sometimes one would grab the other, so then you got to rattle it back into neutral. It was just annoying as all heck, and I don't like it. So I'm going to try, like I said, traditional H pattern one way or another. You're not normally banging gears in these things, but guess what? If I want to, I can. So for no other reason than that, it's going to be that way. If it fights us a lot, I might end up with the cheap garbage shifter for now, but I can't stand them, so I'm going to try not to. But I'm also not going to let that slow down our progress. So if I need to put that garbage style, cheaper style in, I will, just to get us going for this year, but that is absolutely something I will change later. I just like a traditional H pattern. Sorry for the rant there, but those shifters annoy me. But yeah, we're making good progress on this thing. Fuel pumps on, balancers on. I could put the water pump on, intakes on, valve covers are on. There's a few things that I could still put on the engine, but I'm just waiting until I finish up these mounts. I ended up making this support for the bracket So this is your engine mount here. And I added this support tube just because I didn't like the way this was hanging off the frame, and this tube is a little thinner than what I would like. So on this side, I used a much heavier gauge tube, and I'm just gonna weld it in real good. I'm not worried about it. I could always add a triangulated brace. We'll see, but I'm not too worried about that side. It was just this side. I didn't like how they had it, so we added that brace there. But yeah, I think that'll be it for tonight. We are making progress as promised. Just a little at a time, as much as we can. I spent a solid 8 hours on it last Saturday, probably a solid 7 hours on it today so far. So it's getting there. Like I said, my goal is to get it out this year, get some laps in it, and we'll go from there. We're just trying to set it up this year, get some laps in it, make improvements over the winter, and be ready to rock for next year. But don't forget to like and subscribe. If you guys have any questions on this build, just let me know, and we're gonna keep getting after this thing. Keep it saucy.